Good morning.
There.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Okay. So thank you for joining me and the birds on my dress, I guess, for this for this Tuesday talk. Let me cover some housekeeping items first before we get started. For those that are listening, we love audience participation. So don't be afraid to ask a question. If you hover near either the top or bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a Q&A button. If you click on that, you can type in a question. If you want to remain anonymous, there's a little button that you can click to do that. But either way, I love questions. I know Margaret does as well. It helps the conversation flow much smoother. Margaret, I have some questions of my own that I have prepared in advance. No curveballs, I promise. But again, love audience participation, so don't be afraid to type in a question. So we've got 30 minutes to cover a lot of great topics. My name is Jen Chaney. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development. Margaret is the CEO of Right at Home. Thanks again for joining me.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So let's just start with a very general, very broad, in Margaret Haynes' opinion, what's just a general state of the union of Right at Home, home care in general, with today being July 26th, 2022. What does that look like to you?
Yeah. So first of all, I can't believe we're almost at the end of July and we're going to be heading into August here. So that's pretty crazy. But so what does life look like for Right at Home in the industry as a whole? And I say it's very bright. There is, obviously we know we've got the statistics now are that 10,000 individuals are turning 65 every single day, right? Mm-hmm. And we know that, by 2030, we're going to have probably over 9 million individuals that are over the age 85. So we've been knowing this silver tsunami is coming. So from an industry perspective and specific to Right at Home and the services we provide, we are just on the cusp of this big wave of individuals that can benefit from the services that we provide. And our mission is to improve the quality of life for those that we serve. And while we focus a lot on seniors and helping them age gracefully wherever they call home, we also support individuals over the 18 or older that maybe are living with a disability. And so I think as an industry and as a brand, we have so much opportunity in front of us because there's so many additional lives that we can touch in such a meaningful way. And the pandemic has really shown us over the last I can't believe it's been 2.5 years with the pandemic.
Crazy.
And still not at the end, but it also has shown the value, not only to the client themselves in terms of the safest places to be at home, but also to the family as well, and the support that we can bring alongside even those family caregivers that sometimes need some respite. So it just really is a great time to be part of this industry more than ever. It's always been a great time since we started back in 2000 franchising in 95 as a brand. But really, there's so much opportunity in front of us that it's just exciting to be on this journey with everybody here.
Sure. Yep. So let's talk about Right at Home's business model. So a family that's out there, if they're looking for care for their loved one, they have a lot of options. So I just want to talk specifically about Right at Home and our business model. So it's personal care, companion care, and specialized nursing services. So can you comment to our listeners on what that looks like for our Right at Home franchise owners, maybe the different types, are they majority personal and companion care with a little bit of specialized nursing services? What does that look like in the Right at Home business model?
Yeah, certainly. So you definitely described the three kind of areas in which we play. So initially coming out of the gate, the first level of service would be that homemaker companion. And we consider that to be the hands-off support.
Yep.
So it could be help with cooking and light housekeeping, just socialization, coming and helping them read their mail, take them out for social events, those sorts of things. And that is the start. The next level up is called personal care. And personal care is more hands-on care where you're helping individuals with what we call activities of daily living. And it can be bathing and grooming and toileting and those sorts of things additional assistance, moving from a chair to the bed or bed to the chair, those types of things are things that would be falling into the personal care side. And I would say that 95% of the services that are provided across the Right at Home brand today fall in the category of personal care and companion care. And those lines blur a little bit. It kind of depends on what state you're in from a licensure perspective. We have some offices that will do strictly just homemaker companion.
Yep.
But more, the majority of our offices, I would say, do both homemaker companion and personal care. And then there's that third level of care called specialized nursing services. And that is something that we brought into the system, probably 7 or 8 years ago. We started talking about it, just reading the tea leaves in terms of what's going on from a healthcare perspective, and anticipating that more and more care was likely going to be pushed into the home, because that's the most economical way in many cases for someone to be cared for versus in institutional kinds of settings. So enhanced nursing services is another step up. Again, it depends on licensure in each individual state, but we have a program around that, but it is very different. So when you go from homemaker companion to personal care, that's kind of a pretty easy kind of transition. So typically offices will start off with both those services, but moving into nursing services, that is a completely different jump. And so we actually have to approve an office to actually start providing enhanced nursing services, because it really is a different ball game. A call off on someone if they don't get their bath today is very different than if you're taking care of someone and maybe it's trach therapy or infusion maybe that you're helping with. If that doesn't happen, that's a very much a different kind of scenario where you're going to have a lot of nursing services on staff in order to support that. So I would say today, as a very small percentage of our revenue across the brand comes from nursing services, but I do think that will start to uptick over the next 5 to 10 years, just with, again, changes in healthcare, but understanding that our primary payer source is family funded.
Yep.
And so a lot of your true kind of skilled nursing, if you think about skilled, that is really what home health does. And we come along and are complementary to home health, but we don't do home health services.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that explanation. We've had a lot of people that have been asking that question lately, so that'll be beneficial to people who are watching this on a recorded basis. I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about franchise owners that are just thriving here at Right at Home. So I'd love for you to give your opinion on, because I promise you there isn't anybody who's looking to join Right at Home that's like, I just kind of want to do a little bit of business and just kind of, most people that join our business are like, I want to crush it. I want to thrive, so what recommendations can you offer to those listening that want to do that? Because we have plenty of franchise owners that are absolutely thriving. What are some of their common characteristics, and what can our listeners do to join that group of individuals?
Yeah, so we have across the system, we have just phenomenal owners. And I would say when you talk about, okay, well, maybe the top performing in the system, what does their kind of DNA look like? I think I would sum it into a couple things. It's about engagement. So our most highest performing in all levels, whether it's revenue, quality, satisfaction levels, both on the client and employee, caregiver satisfaction levels that we measure, it would be individuals that are really engaged with the entire network. So they're engaging actively with their business performance coach. So that's the individual that works with someone in the system from the minute they start, till the time that they actually decide to sell their asset or leave the Right at Home system. They have this shepherd, for lack of a better term, someone that can help them continue to think about their business objectively and how do you continue to grow it. So we see those individuals active with us, active in programs that are provided like performance groups. So performance groups is a great initiative that we have across the system. And And if you're doing validation across the system, you're going to come across somebody that says they're in a performance group, and they'll sing the praises of that as well. And I can explain those here in a minute if you want. But so that engagement there, and then just engagement in their local state, right? So engaging with their fellow right at home owners in their local state and advocating, staying advised on what's going on in the state. Those are all just that engagement piece is really, really important. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's the business savvy that's really part of that DNA as well, in terms of having the tenacity and knowing, okay, I'm going to have good days and I'm going to have bad days. And on the bad days, I'm going to say, okay, tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to, not look at obstacles as being insurmountable, but really, how do I deal with whatever challenges my business is facing today and continue to just work the business and continue to focus on growth. And growth is really important to a business, because the minute a business stops growing, it's actually declining. Sure. And so I think that business savvy, that entrepreneur spirit, that truly inherent desire to want to help people age gracefully wherever they call home, really is going to help drive success in this industry, because it's a 24/7, 365 kind of business, right? There's other business models out there, restaurants or whatever, that you can do that are different business models, have different times in which they're open, but we're 24/7, 365, because crisis can happen with a family at any moment. But there's a lot of satisfaction that comes from that as well. So really having a heart around seniors is I think a key element of the success as well.
Okay, got it. And we just, thank you for that, Margaret. We just had our first question come in, and it says, I'm going to read it exactly. Does recession affect growth? And one thing that I would like to add before, I've got some notes here before you answer. Let's see here. Franchise Business Review recognized Right at Home as a top recession-proof franchise. So I suppose, and even kind of to piggyback off of this question, why do you feel Right at Home is resistant to some of these economic downturns? So, and then coupled with, does recession affect growth?
Yeah. So all great questions. And it's great to be recognized as a recession-proof kind of business concept. And obviously that comes from historically looking back, and the last time as a country we really went through what I would say kind of a big recession was back in 2008, right?
Yep.
And so we can look at our historical growth and show how beautifully, as an entire brand and an entire network, we came through those challenging times and actually continue to have great growth. And I'm going like this because we have this beautiful growth chart, right, of Right at Home from inception that's textbook worthy, right, from a business school perspective, because there's such a pretty angle to it. So that's wonderful. And I think back in 2008, we had a boom of number of individuals coming into the industry. And I think that was because people were potentially maybe losing their jobs, right? Big corporate America was doing a lot of downsizing. And so individuals decided, maybe I don't want to get caught up in that anymore. And I want to really hold the reins of my future and be able to call the shots and really kind of be able to go into business myself and actually create something that is yours versus obviously working for somebody else. So I think that's part of what kind of drove that boom. But so being recession proof means that we're able to ride those waves. And I think part of that is around just because of the service we provide, regardless of what's going on from an economic perspective, people still need assistance with things that they can no longer do on their own. So just the population that we serve, there's still a need there.
Sure.
And the population that we serve tends to operate on a pretty finite, defined amount of income that they're using at the time. And so even with the recession, there's still kind of that finite income that they're putting towards care that still needs to happen regardless of the economics. But does it change things? Does be going into recession change maybe how you look at the business? And my answer would be absolutely yes. I mean, we can't just turn a blind eye to what's happening from an economy perspective. So certainly things that we're seeing right now and coming through the pandemic is, so we're seeing obviously pay rates for caregivers increasing. which is good. I mean, we always want to make sure in each of the local offices, all independent owned and operated, we always encourage them to make sure they're paying a competitive wage rate within their market. And obviously wage rates differ depending on the coast or here in the Midwest. But with wage rate increases, then that also, we talk a lot about protecting the margin, the gross margin, and making sure that you've got a healthy business, because a business needs to be profitable in order for it to be sustainable. And we focus a lot on sustainable, profitable businesses. So bill rates are going up as well in order to allow for the economics to work, because as business owners, you have more expenses than just what is incurred when you're putting a caregiver in the home. So we talk a lot about looking at the changing dynamics that are happening right now in the industry and how do we adapt in order to meet those changes. And that's just, good business management during a time of increased economic pressure.
Got it. So wage rate increases. I want you to say that 5 times really fast.
Yeah, I know. That's a tongue twister.
That is a tongue twister. Okay. So it's absolutely no secret in the labor market. It's challenging at times to find caregivers. However, we do have a lot of franchise owners that don't have any issues with caregiver recruitment and retention. And I could argue that you and I could talk for a solid 30 minutes just about everything that we are doing to support our franchise owners with caregiver recruitment and retention. For those that are listening, if you're going through franchisee validation, make sure that you ask our franchise owners about every initiative that we have to help and support our franchise owners with that. But I don't want prospective franchise owners to think that we have put the brakes on supporting our franchisees, helping them with sales and marketing. That's another very big part of our business. We got to find the caregivers, but what are we doing to support our franchise owners with finding those clients? And a lot of the people that join the Right at Home system don't have a sales and marketing background. So can you talk a little bit about what Right at Home does to support our franchise owners with that sales and marketing piece and helping them find those clients?
Yeah, and Jen, you make a good point that we could talk forever about caregivers, and we really could talk forever about clients. And that's the one thing about our business model is we always say that you constantly need to be hiring caregivers, obviously, because they're the individuals that go and provide your services into the local home. But you also constantly need to be identifying clients that can benefit from those services. So it is really important, even though some things in some markets might ebb and flow, maybe where 60-40 or 70-30 in terms of time and energy spent. But so on the sales and marketing side, absolutely, we do a lot to support. So we have a brand fund that's from a national perspective. So each franchise owner contributes into this brand fund. And then we have a council that's made up of franchise owners that help work with our marketing department here to determine how those dollars are spent in order to work the hardest that they can for the network each year, right? And so some examples of how those funds are used is we do national advertising because it's really important to build brand recognition and ultimately you want to build brand loyalty. So, connecting with that adult child, connecting with that senior, different ways in which we communicate out to them through commercials or through online or leveraging some of the other new technology that's out there from a social media perspective. But really kind of meeting that consumer where they're at and talking about how we can support them. So from a national branding perspective, we do a lot of work there to make sure that the Right at Home brand that is well known and well respected in our industry, we want it to be a top of mind kind of household brand as well. And so that obviously takes a lot of time and energy and years to build that. So that's one area of focus. I mentioned we have business performance coaches that work with our franchise owners on a regular basis. And one of the things they'll help think through is what's a strategic plan for the year? And then we have marketing specialists that come alongside and say, what are you doing locally in your market that then take what you're doing and bring it to life online for you? And so we have an entire team of online marketing specialists that really, they are there to tell your story in an electronic way that helps you connect with consumers. So whether the consumer is connecting by calling an office or by through the internet. We have programs that support that journey in order to start to communicate what are the services that we can provide, the value that bring, how can we help that family navigate this thing called aging and finding the support that is needed for that loved one.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that. So the questions have been flying in. There's 3 questions. I'm going to start with this second one here. It's quite simply, is the owner themselves a caregiver?
Gosh, great question. So I would say when first starting out in a brand new territory, there may be times when, yes, the owner would, if someone's calling off, they may go and help take care of a client.
Yep.
And I would say that is a great opportunity, regardless of what background the owners come with. And the owners that we have across the network come from such a diverse background in terms of, what were they doing in the chapter before this one of their life. And I would say the majority don't come from a healthcare background and certainly not from a home care background. And so even being involved and going out and helping with assessments initially on is always great, because that also builds a strong reputation in your local community about being an evolved and really focused owner. And this business is all about relationships. And so being able to get out there and build relationships with those clients, those families, those referral sources, I think are really important. But as an owner, you're going to quickly shift from, I would say, with offices that have started to build out their teams, it's just not a minimum of 2 individuals in the office that's required to kind of start a new franchise location. Then they transition out of being a caregiver, obviously. But I think it's always a great experience to be able to go in and just see what that role is doing and the impact it's having, because I think it brings additional compassion and understanding as an owner.
Okay, got it. So question 2 of 3, and actually another one just came in. How many caregivers does a franchise owner need?
Yeah, so, we kind of operate around 1 to 5 kind of ratio when we think about caregivers to clients. So we have a dashboard that kind of helps owners look to say, okay, well, what is my caregiver client ratio? And maybe am I running a little thin? And so I need to work on building my bench strength. And the reason for that is, just as clients may have issues where they get sick and so they may need to cancel a shift or they go into the hospital. I mean, caregivers are individuals as well, right? And they may end up with a sick kid, or they themselves may be sick. So there's always this bench strength, this additional group that you want to be able to call on for those unexpected things that come along. So we'll coach around a 1.5 to 1 ratio around caregiver to client, knowing that ebb and flows from time to time. And you'll see your little odometer, I kind of think of about, of where you are in that mix, but that would kind of be the ideal scenario.
Okay. And you answered the next question here. So the question is, when talking to franchisees, they mention bench strength. What exactly is that? So I believe that you answered that question. So for the listener that typed that in, if you want Margaret to further elaborate on that, let me know, but I think that you answered that question great. Okay. So this question is pretty simple, and it applies towards caregiver retention. What are some of the things that we do to support our franchisees to keep caregivers?
Yeah, so, we say it's easier to keep a caregiver than it is to find a new one, right? Just in terms of the time and energy and all of that you put into trying to identify. So once you have these caregivers come and they go through your orientation, we really focus a lot on that retention side. And so we have an entire program, an entire playbook around caregivers from beginning to when they exit, and how can you take that entire journey with your local office and break it down into what we call micro experiences. And so within that retention side, it's really how can you create a strong relationship with that caregiver, understand their challenges as just an individual. They might be a mom, they might be a grandma, they might be a grandpa or a dad, so we have They have lives outside of just the work. So really connecting with them there. How can you provide them with education opportunities? How can you make sure that that first introduction to the client, someone is there to help them with that? Because again, it's a relationship business. And how can you help drive success with that connection between the caregiver and the client? So retention is really, really important. And how do you make it an environment that they feel connected? Because one of the challenges of our business model is the caregivers aren't coming to an office and getting to engage with each other on a daily basis. They're actually out in the field, right, at individual offices. So how can the office staff stay in connection with that caregiver to find out how did their shift go, and what's going on, and did they notice any changes with the client? Because there's so much value in helping the caregiver understand the difference they're making every day really helps with that retention as well, and feeling like they're part of a team. So we've got an entire playbook that goes through a lot of different, not only tactics, but also we have a lot of best practices that have been gathered from the entire network, which is obviously a benefit of being part of a franchise system, as you get to tap in to all those great ideas and best practices that are out there.
Yes. Okay. So we've got a few minutes left. I have one more question that I want to squeeze in before we wrap up here. One thing that I've noticed is that we have a lot of franchisee referrals. And so for those of you that are listening, we do a survey every year with our franchise owners through Franchise Business Review. And we just got our results back, and 95% of our franchise owners would refer someone for franchise ownership. In the past 6 months, we've actually had 4 individuals that have moved forward with franchise ownership that were referred by existing franchisees. So what does that mean to you that we have franchise owners that are recommending this business ownership to their friends and family? And quite a bit.
Yeah. So Jen, I honestly, I can't think of a better compliment that we as a corporate team, and then I think the network as a whole, right, could get because someone's saying, hey, I've invested my time and energy and dollars into building this business, and they're seeing success and they believe in the mission, they're making a difference in their local community, and they're saying you should be doing this too, right? So that is such a great compliment to the culture and the support network, and just overall how we work collectively, collaboratively together to really change lives in a meaningful way. And so I really think that is the ultimate compliment to the network and to our, the team here in the corporate office in terms of how we engage with the network, because it means that people believe in us and there's trust. And those things are really, really important.
Yes. Got it. Thank you for that. Time flies when you're having fun. It's been 30 minutes. Do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners?
Just a thank you for investing your time and energy into learning more about this concept. It is an amazing industry, and within the industry, Right at Home has such a strong reputation, and we are really, really focused on our mission. And when you think about our mission, improving the quality of life for those we serve, I just can't think of a better way to spend time and energy while we're on this earth, but helping people age gracefully, or helping those that are living with a disability, do the things they can and bring along support alongside them for those things that maybe are a bit more difficult. And so certainly wish you luck in your journey, and excited to be part of the Right at Home brand. Would love to have more individuals share in our mission.
Perfect. Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate you. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And I know our listeners do as well.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Okay. Have a great day.
Yep. You too. Bye-bye.